Looking for is Linda La Scola.
That sounds right. Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard her speak. I think she's an academic.
Okay, I'm ready.
We should go a few rounds just to warm up. You know?
Look at all these people. You don't talk about Fight Club.
Won't you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes? It's a wonder what you'll find with an open mind. You may be surprised. Yeah, gotta get away from this illusion for the sake of the world. This delusion.
Hello and welcome to the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Russell Glasser, and with me today is Don Baker.
Hey, good to be here.
Today is Sunday, August 19th. We are a live call-in public access atheist television show based in Austin, Texas, dedicated to promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We're also available through live streaming video at ustream.tv. The official Atheist Experience website is www.atheist-experience.com. You can provide feedback by commenting on the official show blog at freethoughtblogs.com/AXP or email us at tv@atheistcommunity.org, atheist-community.org. If you enjoy this show, please check out our related podcasts, The Nonprofits and Godless Bitches. You'll find those links on the Atheist Experience website. As always, this week, again, we're going back to El Arroyo, partly on the basis of discussion that it was ill-advised last week to just change up the venue at the last minute, but we're in discussion about whether or not we're going to stick with El Arroyo for the long term and what we're going to do next. So if you're here in Austin and you are interested in hanging out with us after the show at around 6, then come to El Arroyo if you want to. Let's see, the Atheist Community of Austin is going to be having our annual Bat Cruise on September 22nd, and a lot of people like to know about that well in advance, and people are signing up for it right now, and I'm going. Are you going, Don?
Yeah.
All right.
We get a lot of out-of-towners for that.
Yes. So if you're interested, then you can check out the website of the Atheist Community of Austin. And also on that same day, September 22nd, there's going to be, I believe there's probably going to be a breakfast in the morning, and then there's going to be a lecture by Teresa McBain, who's a graduate of the Clergy Project. Mm-hmm. And now, on with the show.
On with the show. Well, I have been doing a long series on the failures of Christianity, and hopefully it begs the question in people's minds, you know, if there's this omnipotent, omniscient God who's helping the Christians out, why are they failing so often? Why is
Raises the question.
Raises the question. Hopefully,
Sorry.
You know, so you can count this all as evidence for atheism, in the sense that, you know, here's stuff that should be happening that isn't. There should be successes when there are lots of failures. I've previously done 8 shows on this topic and many more that I think that would fall in this category previously. I won't list them all, but my last 8 shows are in this vein, and you can see them on our archive. So today I want to talk about the failure of Christian medicine. I talked about science last time. So Christian medicine versus real medicine. Well, so Christians supposedly worship the creator of the universe and everything in it, including mankind. Supposedly he divinely inspired the Bible. Supposedly he talks to believers through prayer and through the Holy Ghost, and presumably he knows everything. He's a pretty smart guy. That's the idea. So believers and their holy book should have some special insights in the nature of the universe, especially the ones that are into the folks who are supposedly the purpose of the creation, right? The humans were the supposed purpose of the creation. So there should be a lot of knowledge in the Bible and these sorts of things about humans and their anatomy and how their health works and these sorts of things.
Now, I've heard Christians say so many times, well, it's not a science book, at least non-creationist Christians. And I'm sure they could say, come on, Don, it's not a medical text.
No, but we don't see any evidence of any sort of special knowledge in there. So, you know.
Do we see some evidence of some distinct ignorance in there?
Oh yes, yes, and I'll get to that. So,
I thought we might.
So today, neither the Bible nor Christian history offers anything of real substance in the area of medicine, although you might think it should. You know, if prayer works, or if you can talk to God, or if the Holy Spirit acts through you, maybe you'll learn something that way. What we do find is that Christian medicine is used for control, manipulation, and spin. And so we're going to see that today. So like so many other areas, Christian medicine is a proven failure, although it's not unique to Christianity. There's other religions that have failed as well. And the reason for the failures, of course, is that it's a broken model of the world, and when you act on it, bad things happen. You know, it's easy to get the wrong answer when you're guessing. So let's talk briefly about biblical knowledge of human anatomy and medicine. In Genesis 1, supposedly God, all plants and seeds given by God are good to eat, which is false. Supposedly women should suffer the pain of childbirth in Genesis 3. That's kind of sucky, I think. God gives a cure for leprosy in Leviticus 14 and spouts other nonsense about the disease. None of that cure is accurate, nor is anything that he said about the disease accurate. In 1 Samuel chapter 5, hemorrhoids are a plague from God, and that's the golden hemorrhoid story. That if you haven't read that, that's pretty funny stuff. In Judges 20, Samson loses his strength as a result of having his head shaved, which doesn't happen. In Proverbs 20:30, the blueness of bruises cleans away evil, supposedly. There's a lot of goofy stuff. There's a deep fascination in the Bible about foreskins. We're not quite sure why. Man's seed is the only thing necessary to make babies, according to the sentiment of that. And women are kind of second-class citizens because they don't really contribute. But of course, that's false. Reanimation of various dead people by magic, supposedly, especially in Matthew 27, supposedly happens all the time with these folks. In that particular quote, the saints are resurrected and go marching around. Oh, when the saints go marching. Jesus claims that death can be escaped in John 8:51. So there's a whole bunch of claims in here that are just false or silly, right? Mm-hmm. But are there any like specific cures, like homemade cures that you could try and verify for yourself? Well, the leprosy one is one. Okay. You know, and there's food prohibitions in the Bible, like eating pork and these sorts of things, and which Christians don't stick to these days. They don't stick to that, and I classify that as folk wisdom, in the sense that, you know, maybe they figured out that when they did eat pork, they got sick. And so they made pork when it's not raised properly has the trichinosis parasite. Right? Well, it reminds me a lot of a sequence in Tom Sawyer where Huckleberry Finn just shows up at Tom's house one day with a dead cat, and let's see. Tom Sawyer says, "Say, what is dead cats good for, Huck?" And he says, "Good for cure warts with." No, I know something that's better than that. What is it? Oh, spunk water.
So,
Huh?
so they like argue over who's got the best remedy for warts. They really have nothing to do with anything, but they could have come from this, supposed wisdom passed down by the Bible for all the testing you can do on it.
Right. And
I don't know what spoke water
now
is.
I don't know either. So now we have the ability to test claims and see how they work and try various things. I don't mean to disparage folk wisdom, but I don't see anything that's miraculous in the Bible. So there's nothing in the Bible about evolution, common descent, germ theory, or sanitation other than the folk wisdom that was made sense at the time. There's nothing about parasites, bacteria, viruses, cancer, prions, fungi, mental health, or genetic, which are the natural causes of disease, right? Humans had to wait until the 1700s or so until modern medicine to be created by humans. And modern medical technology has been used to increase the understanding, while Christianity really makes no difference, but is happy to claim credit in many cases. So while there isn't a lot of substance from God in Christendom, we do see a lot of use of medicine by Christianity in the themes of control, manipulation, and spin. And I want to talk about those, and then we'll end. So in the theme of control, Christians, early Christians, were kind of concerned about this medical technology that was sort of available or around or being discovered, and they kind of wanted to suppress it. And so the idea is that, hey, we're the big wigs in the religion, and we don't know about this stuff, so we'd rather not have other people know about it either, so that we don't lose our power. And so there was a clamping down of gaining of knowledge from, say, the dissection of cadavers. They made prohibitions against that, or the notion of practicing medicine was considered magic or witchcraft. And so part of this is that they considered any of this, anything that didn't come from the supernatural God as being suspect. So that whole medical advancement, I think, was hindered by early Christianity. More recently, we have groups like Jehovah's Witnesses and Christian Scientists that are trying to control their people getting medicine, and I don't really see the benefit of that because it tends to shorten the lives of those folks, and especially the kids who don't get treatment when they should. But their idea is that God or prayer should be sufficient, and disease is sort of a blame the victim idea. That if you have disease, then you're not praying properly. But also in control, we've seen, especially in recent years with the culture war, we've seen a lot of attempts to control birth control and stem cell research. We've had this deal where pharmacists are claiming, my medical or my religious ethics are bothered by the fact of I'm giving a birth control prescription to somebody, I get to not give it to them. Or the bishops in the snafu with health insurance recently, right? They don't want to fund birth control. In the Bush administration, we saw research funding screwed up by religious folks, especially dealing with stem cells, AIDS, and sexuality research. So there seems to be a theme among all these that it's trying to control sex and reproduction because everybody knows that God can't make more people, and where are you going to get the tithers? Anyway, so that's control. Go ahead.
Those godless scientists ought to be aware of the terrible underpopulation problem that the planet has, right?
Right.
Every baby that you prevent is, one step closer to the human race just petering out.
Yeah, I should maybe even make a topic of that because, the overpopulation is sort of the source of a lot of moral problems in the world, right? There's a lot of resource scarcities, there's a lot of famines and disease that are caused by
religious opposition to birth control, which you mentioned a minute ago, has a lot to do with that, especially in some of the remoter parts of the world. Well, part of the solution to overpopulation is proper sex education, both here and overseas, and making condoms available, which religious groups prevent.
Yes, and they're spreading lies about condoms. So there's a lot to go around. I forgot about the condom snafu, right? That's a big deal. Yeah. So we've talked about control a little bit. How about manipulation of the believers? Well, for years we've had holy cures at these pilgrimage sites where you go and you drink the holy water, or you sit in the holy baths or whatever, and this is you know, kind of marketed in a way of curing the diseases, miraculous cures. So the desperate go there and they spend their money, and pretty much nothing happens. Anything that looks like a success is claimed, and sometimes they make up successes. The more modern version of that is faith healing, of course, and you can kind of tell it's fraudulent because it's performed as theater. You know, they're not in hospitals curing people. They're doing it on stage to make money, and they're bilking money from the desperate, and it's really kind of sad and pathetic. Some of the folks that have done this in a lot is Peter Popov, Benny Hinn, Pat Robertson, and these folks, many of them are still kicking around doing this sort of thing. They've been exposed by James Randi, so he's the hero in all this, I think.
Didn't Pat Robertson once say he had some sort of magic serum that made it so he could bench press a ton or something like that?
Yeah, that was something he was hawking.
Yeah, I mean a literal ton. I don't think he ever demonstrated it, but you know, he's from God, so you can take his word for it.
Right. He would never lie. Right. Also, manipulation of the believers. We have Oral Roberts, 800-foot Jesus, or was it 900-foot? I've forgotten. Being used to raise money for a hospital that, you know, stole money from this community and largely sits empty, and it's mostly, I think, a monument today to his ego. So how about spin? Well, we can't not talk about religious spin in the area of medicine without talking about Mother Theresa. And she supposedly ran an alleged clinic in India to help the poor. In reality, it was this rather sad thing. It was, I call it a sadistic trap for the terminally ill. Very, very sick people would go there and hope for some sort of mercy and some sort of help, and they would end up. She kind of enjoyed their suffering and thought that was a wonderful thing, and didn't really give palliative care to those folks and made them go out and beg for food and these sorts of things. So. But she raked in a lot of money, sort of allowing people to think that she was doing a lot of good there when she really wasn't. And she would use this money to fly to Europe to get real medical care for herself when she was ill. And she also used a lot of this money to prevent birth control in India, sort of adding to the poverty there. And so she's really sort of working very much against anything good, as far as I'm concerned. But she became a rock star, right? She was a big deal.
She was pretty much all about, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but her main thing was making people feel good about their poverty instead of actually doing anything.
Right. So it was a way of spinning their suffering and giving it meaning in the Christian sense, and so that's where I believe it belongs in this category.
It's like, you know, this condom stuff and you know, bringing actual food, you know, that would detract from the greater purpose that your suffering serves.
Right.
You know, actually,
I think that's the thinking.
So in some cases, religion actually detracts from doing anything concrete, which I'm always reminded of how Rick Perry, you know, had us all pray for rain instead of, say, implementing water conservation measures.
Right. Right. So there's more to this Mother Teresa story. The Catholic Church wanted to sort of capitalize on her rock star status, and initially they held her at arm's length, but they came to like her at the end because there was this strong association with her in Catholicism, and so they decided to fast track her on canonization. And so there was this young woman who had tuberculosis and went to the doctor and got some medicine for tuberculosis, and she got better and got well. But she was kind of poor and ignorant and decided that she was praying to Mother Teresa and that she had cancer, not tuberculosis, and so her cure was miraculous, of course. And so this miracle of this thing, which was completely self-serving as far as the Catholic Church is concerned, was used to canonize, is being used to canonize Mother Teresa as a saint. And I think it's all kind of pathetic and self-serving. Lots of spin there. But continuing in the spin theme, we've also have people touting the power of prayer, and there have been a lot of fake prayer studies created where people have skimmed the data or lied or done various things. The real prayer studies that are conducted double-blind and have proper controls show that prayer doesn't work, which is no big surprise. I've talked about that before. But God tends to get credit when something goes good, and when something goes bad, you can blame the demons, which the Catholic Church did for many years, or blame the lack of faith of the victims.
Or just blame greater purpose, like,
oh, right.
It's better that you keep suffering.
Yeah, yeah. Also, in as far as spin, I do admit that religions own, or religious institutions own hospitals, and those hospitals do good. I think that the religious part of those hospitals, or if you take a look at the religion aspect of it, that part of it is a detraction from the good that could be done without religion. For example, we have these hospitals being used to potentially convert people who are ill, or potentially use the hospitals as sort of spin for, hey, we're doing this wonderful work. Well, where did you get the money for these things? Well, you were effectively misleading people about God and these sorts of things without evidence for these things. So that's a mixed bag. But this has the hospital thing. Maybe that's an asset for Christianity, but it still doesn't make up for a lot of the harm that's been done along the way. So in conclusion, Bible-based medicine is exactly what you'd expect from Bronze Age goat herders. And not much has come from Christianity since biblical times. And real medicine takes real work and real understanding, and it's the culmination of centuries of observations, hypotheses, testing, confirmation, sharing of reasoning, trials, these sorts of things done by vast numbers of dedicated people. And medicine has been used by Christianity for its own self-promotion at the expense of the sick and dying, which is kind of sad. So it's a failure in my mind, and chalk up another one. Okay.
All right. You're getting very efficient at those.
Trying.
Let's see. Kevin in Canada, in Ottawa, wants to talk about Mother Teresa, and that happens to be on topic today.
Okay.
So, hey, Kevin.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's the first time calling, and I've been wanting to call for a while. I just discovered your show just some months ago. I had no idea the scope that something like this could reach. The idea that atheism is actually expanding. It seems like everyone thinks it's so small, and everyone tries to convince everyone that it's so small, but it's not. It's growing more than we all know.
Yeah, I think the number of self-declared atheists is larger than the number of Jews in the United States. I'm not sure about Canada.
Yeah, there have been some studies that show that at least identification with not believing in God, which is atheism in all but name, is growing worldwide. And there was a recent survey that showed it might actually be growing by a lot in the United States. It's still small. I don't want to overstate it. I think the number of people who directly claim the label atheist is still like less than 1%. But
yeah, perhaps. But then there's the closet atheists as well.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't really matter as much as it's not like our team is winning so much as for me it's just a matter of how many people are actually paying attention and learning rather than sticking to one idea and not wanting to learn anything beyond it.
Right. Raising consciousness, basically, as Richard Dawkins likes to say.
And you guys are doing a tremendous job, and I'm so glad that I found you. Your show is educational and very entertaining.
Thanks.
Well, thanks.
But we're not talking about that today.
Okay.
We're talking about the failure of Christian medicine, but I imagine you could make that all-encompassing and talk about all religious medicine. But in
Sure.
just Christian medicine, we have Mother Teresa herself, who everyone believes that Mother Teresa is a saint, even though she hasn't already been made a saint yet. But if you talk to people, they have that picture in their minds because that's what they've heard, that's what they've grown up with.
It's interesting, isn't it, how this idea has taken hold. I don't think she's tried to dispel it or even promote herself directly, but she sure has gotten a lot of press and a lot of attention as this virtuous person, hasn't she?
Well, she absolutely believed that she was. You know,
well, you know, it's good to bear in mind that being made a saint is, I mean, you know, really doesn't have that much significance, because it's just the Catholic Church deciding whether or not to say some words, because
it's a Catholic thing.
I mean, yeah, it's a Catholic thing, but it doesn't have any actual power, is my point.
Well, in other people's minds it does, because as a wonderful person, she could make this much money, but as a saint, she can make so much more.
Well, she's not going to make any money now, but...
But the saints are just basically man's idea, or the Catholic Church's idea, of not giving up the Roman gods. We can assign all of the traditional jobs of all the minor Roman gods to saints, and give them godly powers, but again, that's another show.
Protestant fundamentalists like Jack Chick view Catholicism as like an evil cult, or pantheistic worshippers. So
especially when you bring in Mary and Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're right. They're kind of treated like demigods.
For people to wake up and to and it's a nice idea. And even for me, it's a nice idea, to think that there's this wonderful woman. She's so loving and caring that she wants to help all these people when other people won't. She's willing to do so much, but the idea of it is much nicer than the reality of it. And so many people are more willing to hide from the reality to keep the idea, rather than embrace the reality and do something positive instead.
And this may be a good time to mention, if viewers are interested in learning more about the real Mother Teresa, you can read The Missionary Position by Christopher Hitchens, which is a bit of a pun, but he did a pretty good job of exposing what it really was, what was really going on there, and it's not very pretty, most of it.
Right, and Mother Teresa's perfection in pop culture is so taken for granted that I've seen a lot of people who wanted to badmouth Christopher Hitchens, saying, this guy was so bad that he wrote a book badmouthing Mother Teresa, without actually responding
it's like
to the
Einstein
content.
is iconic for being smart.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Well, I think it'd be great if people hold on to the dream, if they want to believe that at least the idea of what Mother Teresa stood for is a nice dream, but at least embrace the reality. Take a look at the Christopher Hitchens things. There's also a website, www.stopthemissionariesofcharity.com, which I found. It's filled with a lot of information about what's actually going on there, and I mean, her organization, it pulls in untold millions, but
there's still money
flowing. Around $100 million a year.
Yeah,
and can you imagine that if you were to take that money, like $100 million, and if you took $1 million from it to help a small town somewhere, anywhere in the world, that'd be 100 small towns you could help out every year.
Yeah.
To bring them. And if you took 10 million out, that would be 10. And in 50 years, that would be 500 towns that really should be up and running on their feet, having full hospitalization, education. With that money, that's what I would do with it. So I haven't heard of one town that's been up on its feet because of Mother Teresa.
Right. So I would encourage people to donate, but be aware of where your money's going. That your responsibility doesn't end when you give the money.
Right. Yes. To donate to the right place.
Right.
She's definitely not the right place to donate, because you donate food, you donate clothing and toys. The toys in that, they do not make it to the children or to anyone in the hospitals. They get sold.
Yeah, there's a lot of unscrupulous charities out there, so you do have to be careful. Yeah. Fortunately, there's some watchdog websites and things that help you decide that. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your call.
Oh yeah, and I just wanted to say one more thing. Another thing that I found when I was looking at the StopTheMissionaryCharity.com was a site called Nirmukta, which is Nirmukta. So that's Nirmukta.com. That is actually in India. That's their version, I guess, of the atheist community of India.
Oh,
and
awesome.
It's so nice to see that perhaps the work of Mother Teresa was the spawning of that as well.
And hey, if anybody in Nirmukta is watching, feel free to call anytime.
Well, if anyone's of the Indian community in North America, they might be interested.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
No, thank you very much. Have a great one.
Bye.
Todd in Benton. Oh shoot, I'm not good on my state
Arkansas.
acronym. Is it Arkansas or
It's
Arizona?
Arkansas, yes.
Yeah,
All right,
okay.
welcome.
You're better than me.
Howdy there. You know, I have a question
Yeah.
regarding atheistic reincarnation. I've been reading a lot of atheist books, and I find there's kind of this embrace of death. Like, you know, we just live our life, and then that's the end. But I thought, you know, if there is no limits on our life, there's no limits on the time, there's no God, then why don't we have the possibility of existing again? And I did search, and I found one guy named Jonathan Rowe who probably put this pretty good in explaining it. He said, if time is infinite on both sides, then we have an infinite rule of the dice.
Have you like emailed me a whole bunch in the past?
No, I have not. I've never
just checking.
contacted.
Because I mean, I had a bunch of arguments with a guy who said pretty much what you're saying, and then stopped talking to him. But but okay.
Well, you're on the spot now.
This guy's the
All
only
right,
person.
I'm gonna say right now, you're probably really misunderstanding the nature of infinity in a crucial way. But go on with what you were saying.
What we're saying is that we have infinite rolls of the dice. That means, however infinitesimal small the possibility that we've existed, we'll exist again over and over and over again because of that.
There's no guarantee of that.
Yes, but there's the thing
Okay,
is,
It's a nice-
so I mean,
it's a nice
because
thought
we
thing,
don't
you know?
because we don't like the idea of dying, then we should just engage in some wishful thinking and pretend that we're not going to die because it could be possible. That's basically what religion does. Why should we take that seriously? It's not that we embrace death; it's that we accept it as real.
yes, it is real. We will die,
Okay.
but the fact that there's even if there's any small possibility of existing again, we will, because it's
No,
like, you know,
that's not true.
well, I guess I looked at, well, if the universe is open, maybe it goes on forever.
It may go on forever. The current thinking in physics is that the universe will expand infinitely and die of sort of a heat death, and you know the conditions for life will vanish over time. So the window in which people can exist is not infinite.
Yes.
Yeah, and what people sometimes misunderstand about infinity is that you can have an infinite set that doesn't include everything in it. Like, for instance, the set of all even numbers does not contain the number 3. So you could live forever and never experience a particular condition, even though it's infinite. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I have a hard time grasping that.
Do you follow?
Yes, just
I'm not
because
sure
it's
if I
infinite
expressed it.
doesn't mean it's necessarily
okay, yeah.
dictates
Right. Just because
that
something is
will happen.
infinitely large doesn't mean that everything will happen. I mean, you know, the decimal expansion of 1/7 is infinitely long, but it's just a repeating set of digits over and over again. So that doesn't mean that a different set of digits will eventually show up, even if you go on with that forever.
Well, I look at it as like if you have a Rubik's Cube, no matter how big that Rubik's Cube is, eventually you're going to just solve it, even if it's large as the universe.
Not necessarily. What if your method for solving it is just turning the right side over and over again?
Well,
I mean, just because you do stuff at random doesn't mean that you ever do the stuff that leads to solving the cube. Now, I mean, if you were going to systematically go through every state of the Rubik's Cube, then yeah, you'd solve it sooner or later. But there's no guarantee that you're doing that.
But I agree with Russell. I think this is in the category of wishful thinking, right? That you might live on. You know, I think that atheists realize that life is short. You know, we're going to be here a short amount of time, and we got to make it count. You know, we want to make this life meaningful and these sorts of things. We don't believe that this is some sort of trial run or a place to wipe your feet before going on to the real thing.
Right, which is not to dismiss the possibility entirely. It's just that, you know, there could be any number of nonsensical things that you could believe, but the things that you should actually take seriously as things to put your belief in are things that you have evidence for, not just stuff that you wish were true.
but the thing, once we die, we go through time, instant. I mean, if we had another existence on the other side, that time gap would be instantaneous to it because we didn't exist.
You're saying if we were reanimated?
Yes, if we're somehow reanimated by just random chance.
Yeah, I put more faith in technology for capturing our mental states or something, and you know, putting ourselves into computers. This is called transhumanism, by the way. It's a kind of a Jeff D. If you call when he's on the show, he's a big advocate of transhumanism.
Yes, he'll talk your ear off.
Okay.
But
I put more stock in that.
That's not just random processes, you know, randomly leading to reincarnation. That's people trying to solve the problem and do something about it.
Yeah, but well, what leads me down to think this is that we are the result of random chance. We are defying.
We're not the result of
odds.
random chance. We're the result of random chance as acted on by natural stochastic processes.
Yes, but we won this tremendous lottery.
Yeah.
And so you have to wonder, well, there must be some reason why we're here. I mean,
no, there doesn't have to be.
well, the reason is that, okay, eventually every possibility will come into existence.
No, that just really isn't the case.
Okay.
And I've explained why, because you know, the conditions for life in the universe will vanish over time.
I know. Well, I know you seem to limit the possibility, but is there a
No,
limitation
we don't
on
limit
any
the possibility. We just don't take it seriously because there's no evidence for it. Dig up some evidence that it's actually going to happen instead of appealing to what you want to happen, and we'll think about it.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason why there is because this is such a you know, we're talking about numbers that are, you know, almost infinitesimal beyond the human comprehension. Best way I could come up was like you know, trillion to the power, trillion to the power of a trillion, because even, you know, even if Rubik's cube, the lowly Rubik's cube, there's 43 quadrillion possibilities there, and there's, you know, there's 7 to the power 27 atoms in our body. So it is very far out there, but.
Yeah, throwing big numbers at a problem really doesn't say anything about what the odds actually are if you're just starting out completely blind.
I think as well, then, you know, if I am right here, then we've gone through the same exercise time and time again. We're on this we're on this never-ending wheel.
And we gave you the same arguments.
Yes.
I think it's a lovely idea, but I don't buy it. So.
Yes, I'm all for living forever. I just don't think that spinning big numbers in philosophy is going to make it happen. Thanks for calling.
Oh.
Wait, am I sounding okay now? I knocked my batteries out a minute ago. You can't tell. What? Oh, I fixed it. Maybe. Somebody yell. Okay. Well.
Technical difficulties. Let's take another call. What do you think?
All right. I'll let you talk to Sebastian in London.
Welcome, Sebastian. What do you got for us?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Big fan of the show. Obviously, on the screen you can see my question, but can I just make a comment on what you were talking about earlier?
That's fine.
Well, you mentioned the people who don't take any kind of medicine.
Right. Christian Scientists is a group.
Sorry, there was an advert on the stream. It was very loud. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, try turn off the stream while you're on the phone, because that's not going to help you.
Yeah, the delay is very confusing.
Yeah. But you mentioned that there are the Christians who don't take any medicine at all because they think that God will just heal it all for them. And obviously that's not a very clever thing to do.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. But I'd say that that's actually probably one of the most honest beliefs.
Yeah.
Because they actually put the most faith into what they're saying.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So it's admirable in that respect, I guess, that they're living by their principles, right? Even when.
And my question was.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my question was. I've been watching some of the older shows recently, and I saw that I think it was Matt said that agnosticism is about knowledge and atheism is about belief. I don't really understand that, so could you shed some light on it?
You want to take that?
Can somebody please indicate whether I'm coming through okay? But I'm going to assume that I can. Okay, good. knowledge is defined in many philosophical circles as justified true belief, which means that knowledge is a subset of belief. You have to believe something in order to know it, because you can't know something you think is false. But there are a lot of reasons why you could believe something and still not know it. For instance, you could believe that homeopathy works, for example. You could believe that very sincerely, but you could be wrong. And also, people have beliefs about their own belief, which means that they have a greater or lesser degree of certainty about it. Like, for instance, I'm not sure if this is a good example, but I believe that there either is or there isn't life on Jupiter. But I don't believe that there is, and I don't believe that there isn't. I'm completely agnostic with respect to life on Jupiter. I guess I think
you're not going to bet any money either way, right? That's the idea.
So that makes me agnostic. Whereas if I was a guy who was positive that there was life on Jupiter, if I really, really believed that, then I wouldn't be an agnostic, but I could still be wrong. So when you apply that to the question of atheism, atheism could mean that you neither believe nor you neither believe there's a God nor you believe there's not a God. It's got to definitely be one way or the other, but you're not willing to commit to one or the other case. That's pretty pure agnosticism.
Yep. And let me refer you to our counter-apologetics wiki, which is called ironchariots.org, is it?
Yeah, I've actually been working a lot to combat spam.
And there's an article. There's an article there about this topic. If you'd like to follow it further, I think it's a pretty
Atheist
decent
versus agnostic, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, atheism versus agnosticism. So we've covered it there, but briefly, we define atheism as the lack of belief in gods or God claims. So if you don't worship a god, or you don't believe in a god, for whatever reason, you're one of our folks. So, but there is this other definition that gets thrown around quite a bit, which is atheists are sure that there is no God, and that's really a straw man argument. I think that nobody, there isn't really evidence to have that position.
And I think even atheists who say I believe there's no God wouldn't say like 100% certainty. They would just say, given what I know, I really believe that there's not.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in that category of, I've looked at evidence, I've looked for evidence, I've sat on this TV show for many years waiting for a caller to convince me, and I'm still here, So I hope that helps, Sebastian.
Does that clear anything up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it sounds kind of ridiculous, most of their claims, but I'm not going to write off 100%.
Right.
I can't really do that rationally.
There are things that seem ridiculous and turn out to be true.
Right.
But then again, there are a lot of things that don't.
So the time to believe in something is when there's sufficient evidence, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your call.
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Nick in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Hey, you're on.
Hi.
All right, sweet. So I wanted to sort of address something that Don said. I think it was right around the time when the Republicans in Texas declared they didn't like common sense. But
it was critical thinking, right? It was the party platform. I mean, in a sense, they don't believe in anything but common sense, according to the party platform, because the reason the party platform specifically opposes critical thinking is because it might challenge cultural beliefs.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. We invite the audience to read the Republican Party platform of Texas. It's a piece of work. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, that was It's almost tough to make fun of something that kind of makes fun of itself. I mean,
it is all kind of a cartoonish thing almost.
But I wanted to talk about actually, because it was brought up, and I think it was actually brought up later on in episodes that followed, that the idea of the universe starting with a singularity. And
yeah, well, there's this Big Bang idea, right?
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny because Hawking talks about in his book, and Victor Stenger talks about Hawking talking about it, that, you know, he originally tried to convince everyone that the universe started out as a singularity, and now it seems quite the opposite, because that idea was formulated without quantum physics in mind. It was a relativistic model.
Okay, so you've caught me on a technical issue, right? I have said that, and I really sort of meant it as the Big Bang theory, but technically the singularity idea is wrong, right? Or has been revised. So yeah, I do understand. I do make mistakes, and I do appreciate folks correcting me. Like I mispronounced the
palimpsest.
Palimpsest. Last time I was on. So
a lot of people complained about that.
I make mistakes. So be skeptical of what we say too.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny because I mean, it just seems like it's such a good move on I guess the part of the Christian propaganda. I mean, I think that physicists have pointed out to people like Dinesh D'Souza and others multiple times that this isn't true, and then they keep putting it in every single book they publish.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's crazy that I don't know, kind of it is definitely scientifically, you know, known to be inaccurate, and yet you know, this Christian
just so the audience isn't left. Just so the audience isn't left completely confused, would it take could you within a couple of minutes sum up what Hawking does say instead? Or would that take too long?
Yeah, a sentence or two.
It's pretty complicated, and I think that he does definitely a good job in both the grand design and the I have the illustrated version of the universe in a nutshell, along with a brief history of time. I would assume that it's in the original, but they, if you read either of those books, it's got a pretty good, he lays out, you know, I think a pretty good, I would say like a layperson kind of level, that it's pretty easy to understand and also contains all the goods. It's much better than I could do, but yeah.
Yeah, that is a challenge when you're trying to you know, educate or paraphrase something, is to make sure you get the gist of it, and it's easy to oversimplify.
Right, and it's a good thing to remind our audience that none of us who appear here regularly are like you know, cosmological physicists.
Russell and I are both computer guys, so
yeah. So you know, we're just trying to take our layman understanding of things and explain to people what stuff. I mean, how stuff works. But remember that you don't have to know everything to not believe in God. And sometimes the Christian position is that unless you can completely explain stuff that we can magic away by invoking God,
that's the argument for ignorance, right?
Right.
The main tool.
So that's basically all I wanted to talk about. That I think it sort of steps into the, you know, it gives Christians more credit than what they can actually prove to be correct.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, then the argument kind of goes into what caused time and whatnot like that. But I think it's funny because if you think about actual causality is dependent on time. So they're saying that causality was caused into existence.
Right.
So,
right. And the cutting edge physics is changing because the theories are coming out at a kind of rapid clip, and they're being tested and thrown away and revised, and it's a very active area, and it's hard to keep up with it and sort of keep on solid ground. I find that
which
it's
just
a
goes
very
to
fast
show that
moving
the
area.
only true answer is God said, "Let there be light," because that
that
totally makes sense and explains everything.
Right.
Right. All right. Cool. Well, thanks for having me on,
Thanks,
and I'll let theist get on the call before the chat room collectively strangles me.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
We'd put one on if we had one, but at the moment, we just have Ian in South Boston. Hi, Ian.
Hi.
Hi.
I just had a more of a quick question. It goes back to the original topic of the Christian medicine that you were talking about. A lot of it, specifically, at least the one part that I do remember that I was, I can tell you more if you give me what it was the original argument was over. But specifically, I can get into the blood transfusions, which are, in fact, the Bible doesn't talk about them. And those Christian scientists who do try to use the Bible to justify not taking these types of medicines and blood transfusions and this modern stuff that we figured out is false. Blood transfusions are not listed biblically as bad. Only eating of blood, which, considering the number of bloodborne pathogens that we know about.
Right. So, the Bible is ripe for interpretation and spin and people reading things into it that may or may not be there, and that probably falls in that category, blood transfusions, right? Where the whole idea is probably completely outside the whole concept of what the authors of the Bible had even thought about. Yet here we have this modern technology, and people are trying to read into what does the Bible say about this, and it doesn't say anything about that, and so you're sort of in the realm of making things up, and I think that's where we are with blood transfusions and the Jehovah's Witnesses, right?
Well, let's see. I'm not sure if this is an answer. I mean, obviously, I would assume that Jehovah's Witnesses claim to have biblical justification for this. And the Wikipedia page I'm seeing right now is a little bit vague, but it says, Jehovah's Witnesses believe that the Bible prohibits ingesting blood, and that Christians should therefore not accept blood transfusions.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm going to get major flack for this.
Yes.
But I'm going to get major flack for this. But Jehovah's Witnesses are not Christian. Their beliefs don't follow along with the Bible textbook, which I
mean, define a Christian.
Yeah.
We
get this a lot,
First,
nutrition.
No, I can give you specific reasons. The Bible.
And so can they. I mean, as far as we're concerned, I mean, we don't think there's a God. We don't think that Jesus died for our sins. We don't think the Bible is, we have any particular reason to accept it. And so the question of who is a true Christian and who isn't is largely academic to us. Okay. So what do you think a Christian is?
Those who follow the Bible, not always in its entirety, because you cannot follow what you do not understand, but those who directly and actively seek to deepen their walk with Christ as who He is and determined by the Bible as He is.
So if I were a Jehovah's Witness, I would say that's what I do.
Right. Right.
No.
In the New Testament, Paul says, "Hey, don't have any more kids because the second coming is going to happen so quick, and it'll just make things complicated." And yet we have. Okay. So we're down to it. You're sort of reading in whatever you want to into the Bible. Is what I'm hearing.
Suppose a person came along who claimed to be a Christian and said, "I follow the Bible, including I believe that what Paul said was actually right if you interpret it a certain way." Then he might claim that you're not a Christian because you don't follow the Bible as well as he does, right?
No.
Yeah, he would. I mean, you might say he's wrong, but that's what he'd say.
They have been on occasion wrong. I think it was Peter who had to get chewed out by the rest of the early church because he was trying to have them originally follow the laws such as circumcision and sacrifice. Having the Gentiles follow such laws as circumcision, and they had, and that was not at all what the Bible had, what Jesus actually had told them.
Tell you what, What's the magic recipe for what is true and godly and whatever in the Bible, and what of it is interpretation? Help me understand as someone who's outside of this.
And thinks it's all
what's the true
nonsense.
what's the true do you take every other word, or do you get the red letter Bible and read the red parts, or what do you do? What's the magic recipe?
Unfortunately, there really isn't, because it still involves the will of free choice that we were given. The Bible lists a number of, they're what are known as fruits of the Spirit. These are daily things that you just have to notice. They're like, it's subtle, unfortunately. So you can't really say, oh, this person is active. He's doing what a Christian is doing, while, when he's at home, he's drowning himself in pornography. He doesn't really care, or he just doesn't, on the outside, he may look like he's doing good, but on the inside, he's not. That's why, in order to tell a true Christian, it's a subtle difference.
Since this is so subtle, I would expect that a lot of typical Christians or people who think they're Christians could read the Bible and get it wrong, right?
Yes.
Could you?
Unfortunately, which is actually where Revelations actually gets to what I know.
Could you have gotten it wrong?
I have gotten it wrong.
Okay, so you're not a Christian.
No. You can get it wrong. As I said, there are fruits of the Spirit. There's a number of actually really easy ways to get it wrong.
Okay.
That's why I said it's a subtle difference. But
so you're talking about Christians, but you're not one.
When the entirety of your thinking goes completely against the Bible, and there are when those subtle ticks simply aren't there, then it's, then no, you're probably not. Probably.
And you're not.
You aren't.
I mean, am I understanding
I am.
You are. How do you know?
I
thought you just said you've been very wrong before.
I have been wrong before.
But now you know that you're absolutely right.
I admit that.
But now you know that you're absolutely right.
No.
So you're not a Christian.
I'm working on that.
Okay, but you could still be badly wrong about a lot of things, so you could be just as bad a Christian as Jehovah's Witnesses.
I have been on many times.
Okay, so this is just one guy's opinion then.
I'm a Christian because of subtle ticks that I know were not a result of my own actions and thinking.
But you might not be.
Well, you're right. I might not be.
Okay.
But the reason why I say but is that's why I examine my life, look for evidence of where I haven't been a Christian and where I have been, where I should say what I was supposed to do and what I shouldn't have been doing.
Well, we get a lot of calls from Christians, and they all seem to have different concepts. Self-proclaimed Christians. They all have different notions of God, different concepts, different senses of morality, and these sorts of things. And from my perspective, it all looks like a giant hodgepodge of folks making it up. And there's some agreement because people attend churches and they get directions from on high, these sorts of things.
Yes.
So right. One of the 33,000 different sects.
Right.
No, that is exactly what keeps happening.
Including yours.
So how is it that you're? Yeah, exactly. How is it that we trust you and not all the other folks who called in?
For all we know, Jehovah's Witnesses may be the only ones who actually read the Bible right.
No, because
you said
do things that are completely contradictory. That the Bible specifically says no.
Okay.
And I can give you a specific example if you would let me.
We would, but we're out of time, so I think what we'll do instead is put you on hold, and then we can talk to you for a couple more minutes after the show's over, and the internet audience will still see it. Is that okay?
All right.
All right.
I can do that.
That's our show, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Matt, get better.
Yeah, we miss you, Matt.
And thanks for joining me, Don. And
yeah, I had a lot of fun today.
Crew. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to dinner.
All right. Oh, El Arroyo, see you there. What line?
Are we clear again? Okay, I think we're clear, folks.
Are we?
In South Boston. Okay, he's on the phone.
What line were we on? Oh, 1. Ian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
We're going to continue with you.
but only for a little bit because we're going to try to head for dinner.
I'll try and keep this quick, unfortunately. All right, I'll do what I can. Okay. One of these specific examples that specifically goes against the Bible being... Oh, crap, I hate when my brain fries. Genesis is the basis foundation for all marriage. One man, one woman. Unfortunately, Jehovah's Witnesses do not follow this concept even in...
Abraham had multiple wives.
Every single instance in the Bible, or actually most instances in the Bible, has always downgraded anything that deviates from one man, one woman, even where it was supposedly legally allowed by...
Abraham was a great patriarch.
Solomon.
He got all of Solomon.
Yeah.
The even better example.
The guy who married
actually,
both the woman and her
Solomon,
sister,
if you read
right?
Ecclesiastes, was, well, a really depressive guy who, quite frankly, regretted ever marrying a single one of his wives.
Maybe he
Correctly,
was
the
depressed
exact
about it, but it
words
didn't say that he
used
shouldn't
were,
have.
In 1,000 men, out of 1,000 people, you may find one good man, but of 1,000 women, because he had that many, concubines and wives and whatnot, you will not find a single good one. That was...
That just sounds misogynistic. It doesn't sound like anything about...
Because he had married 1,000 women, he didn't like a single one of them.
Well, maybe he was an asshole. I mean...
Oh, no. I mean, Solomon was. He was, and he admitted that he was.
I don't know. He was considered the wisest man in the
That's true.
The world.
He was a wise asshole.
He was the wisest when he was following God, and in later life when he decided, oh, hey...
Okay, but I mean, the point is we're getting a little sidetracked.
Really fun, and I'm king of everything, and I can do it.
Right. But the point
When
is
you
the
start
Bible
one
is
way.
really not that specific about what marriage is in all places. I mean, there is a lot. I mean, for the vast majority of stories in the Old Testament, there's no particular injunction against having lots of wives.
No, there is, actually. It continuously downplays. In the beginning of Genesis...
Downplaying, okay, this is a question of interpretation. This is not a question of where the Bible clearly says one thing or another.
And you're not convincing us that you know it all.
Definitely not you.
Caused a slew of problems that I think it's... Oh, dang it, wife brain, why now? Hold on.
Why don't you call back next week when the show is on? Call in early. I'm sure Matt would love to talk to you too.
Got it.
We'll catch you later.
I'm sorry.
Take care.
No problem.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, gonna run through the remaining lines real quick.
Are you gonna take the callers? Okay.
I mean, I don't know. You could
You're
leave.
glutton,
I don't
aren't
mind.
you? Okay.
Kevin in Boston, make it quick.
How's it going, gang? This is good to see you, Don and Russell.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. I have a quick. I have an assertion to make on the nature of God, and I have two quick questions based on that assertion.
Okay.
All right. So, I'm sure you've run into this one before. I haven't seen it brought up on the show, and I'm sorry if it has, and I missed it. But it's basically that no creature can be both omnipotent and omniscient at the same time. I saw this on Iron Chariot. It says the omnipotent and omniscience paradox.
I think I wrote that on Iron Chariots, probably.
Yeah. Does God know what he's going to do tomorrow? That.
Yeah.
The example I was going to bring up was, if you're able to create a box within or are these random events you can't see, if you can't see them, you're not omniscient, and if you can see them or make yourself see them, you're not omnipotent. All that.
Okay.
So my two questions are.
Thank you.
Does this question, does this concept assertion, does it hold any water logically?
I mean, it depends on how strong you want to be with the terms omniscient and omnipotent. I mean,
I think you can make stronger arguments.
Usually the way this argument plays out is the Christian says, well, he's omnipotent, meaning he can do all the things that he can do according to his nature, which is kind of a weasel. But,
my other question was, do apologists have like an argument in the chamber for this one?
Yeah, that's probably the kind of thing they would say, but you'd have to go more in depth on that by actually arguing with somebody.
Right. Okay. Well, fair enough. That's pretty much all I have. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Take care.
Have a good one.
I think that was it.
Oh, everybody leave?
No. Try number 2.
Number 2. Nope.
Okay, we're done.
All right, that's it.
Yay, we're
Bye,
done.
everyone.
Well, I had fun today.
Me too.